Warning: if you do anything after 8 o'clock at night, please let it not be this one thing, because what I am about to tell you has cost hundreds of my patients years of clear thinking, sharp memory, and independence. And the worst part, most of them had no idea they were doing it. Margaret, 72 years old, a retired school librarian from Columbus, Ohio, sat in my office last spring with tears streaming down her face. She grabbed my hand and said, "Dr. Harrison, I forgot my granddaughter's name yesterday. My own granddaughter. I have known that child since the day she was born. What is happening to me?" And I knew exactly what was happening, because I had seen it dozens of times before. The same pattern, the same habit, the same slow, invisible erosion of everything that makes us who we are. My name is Dr. Michael Harrison. I have spent 31 years as a neurologist, and I have dedicated my career to understanding why some people stay sharp into their 90s while others start losing their memories in their 60s. And after 3 decades of watching, listening, and learning from thousands of patients, I can tell you with absolute certainty that there is one daily habit that accelerates mental decline faster than almost anything else. One habit that most people over 60 do every single day without realizing the damage it causes. But here is the good news. Once you understand what this habit is, and why it destroys your brain's ability to clean itself, you can stop it. And when you stop it, something remarkable begins to happen. In as little as 14 days, you can start to feel the fog lifting, your thoughts become clearer, names come back easier, and that terrifying feeling of losing yourself, it starts to fade. Before I tell you what this habit is, I want you to understand something important. What I am about to share with you is not a miracle cure. It is not a magic pill. It is simply giving your brain what it has needed all along but has not been getting. And the beautiful thing is, you can start tonight, not next week, not after your next doctor's appointment. Tonight. Let me tell you about Margaret, because her story is probably more common than you realize. Margaret had been a librarian for 43 years. She could remember every book in her collection, every student who came through those doors, every detail of every conversation. Her mind was her greatest treasure. But over the past 2 years, something had changed. It started small, forgetting where she put her reading glasses, missing appointments she had written down, struggling to find words that used to come so easily. She told me with shame in her voice, "Doctor, I was always the one who remembered everything. My husband used to joke that I was the family hard drive. Now I cannot even remember what I had for breakfast." Her hands trembled as she spoke. I could see the fear in her eyes, that deep primal fear of losing oneself that I have witnessed too many times in my career. It is a fear that cuts deeper than almost any other, because when you lose your memory, you do not just lose facts and dates, you lose pieces of who you are. I asked her about her daily routine. What time do you wake up? What do you eat? How do you spend your evenings? And that is when she mentioned it, the one thing that changed everything. "Doctor," she said, "I have trouble sleeping, so every night around 9 or 10, I have a little snack, just something small, some crackers, maybe some cheese, sometimes a bowl of cereal. It helps me relax before bed." I nodded. "And how long have you been doing this?" "Oh," she said, "for years, maybe 15 years, ever since I retired. Now, I want you to understand something. What Margaret was describing sounds completely harmless. A small evening snack, something to settle the stomach before sleep. Millions of people do this every single night. But what Margaret did not know, what most people do not know, is that this simple habit was like leaving the lights on in a factory that desperately needed a night shift cleaning crew. Let me explain what I mean, because this is crucial. Imagine your brain is a busy office building. All day long, workers are coming and going, creating documents, having meetings, generating waste. Coffee cups pile up, trash bins overflow, papers scatter everywhere. By the end of the day, that office is a mess. Now, in a healthy building, a cleaning crew comes in at night. They empty the trash, they vacuum the carpets, they organize the desks. By morning, everything is fresh and ready for a new day. Your brain has a cleaning crew too. It is an incredible system that activates primarily when you sleep. This cleaning crew washes away all the debris, all the waste products, all the toxic buildup that accumulates during your waking hours. It is like a dishwasher for your brain, scrubbing away the gunk that would otherwise clog up your thinking. But here is the problem. This cleaning crew cannot do its job properly if you eat too close to bedtime. When you eat late at night, your body has to redirect its energy toward digestion. It is like telling that cleaning crew, "Sorry, you cannot work tonight because we are using all the electricity to run the cafeteria." The cleaning gets pushed aside, the trash piles up, and over time, Days, weeks, months, years, that garbage accumulates into something far more dangerous. Think about it another way. Imagine you have a beautiful swimming pool. Every day leaves fall into that pool. Dirt settles on the bottom. Algae tries to grow on the walls. If you run the filter every night, the pool stays crystal clear. The water sparkles. You can see all the way to the bottom. But what happens if you only run the filter for half the night? Or worse, what if something interferes with the filter every single night? The leaves start to accumulate. The dirt clouds the water. The algae creeps along the edges. Eventually, what was once a pristine pool becomes murky and uninviting. You cannot see the bottom anymore. You would not want to swim in it. That is what happens to your brain when the cleaning system cannot do its full work. The clarity fades, the sharpness dims, and eventually you cannot see your own memories clearly anymore. Robert, 68 years old, a retired firefighter from Denver, came to see me after his wife noticed he was repeating the same stories over and over again. Strong man, proud man, a man who had spent his life running into burning buildings to save strangers, and now he was scared. He sat across from me, his hands trembling slightly, and said, "Doc, I do not know what is happening to me. My wife says I told her the same story about my first rescue 3 times in one dinner. 3 times, and I had no memory of telling it at all." I asked Robert about his evenings. He told me that after dinner around 6, he would watch television until 11 or midnight, and during those hours, he would snack chips, pretzels, sometimes a sandwich, always something. It is just habit, he said, something to do while watching the game, but that habit was costing him everything. Think about it like this. Imagine you have a beautiful garden. Every day weeds try to grow. Every day dead leaves fall. If you clear them out regularly, your garden stays beautiful. But if you stop clearing them, if you let that debris pile up week after week, eventually the weeds choke out the flowers. The dead leaves smother. New growth. What was once beautiful becomes overgrown and dying. That is what happens in your brain when the cleaning crew cannot do its work. The waste products, the cellular garbage, the toxic buildup, it all accumulates. And that accumulation is directly linked to memory problems, confusion, and decline. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Dr. Harrison, I have been snacking before bed for decades. Is it too late for me? No, it is not too late. And I want to tell you about Dorothy to prove it. Dorothy, 75 years old, a grandmother of 6 from Philadelphia. She came to me terrified. Her mother had lost her memory in her 70s. Her aunt had lost hers too. Dorothy was convinced she was next. She told me, grabbing my arm with surprising strength, "Doctor, I am already forgetting things. Small things now, but I know what is coming. I watched it happen to my mother. I do not want my grandchildren to watch it happen to me." Her voice cracked when she mentioned her grandchildren. 6 of them, ages 3 to 14. She had photos in her wallet, worn from being pulled out and shown to strangers. These children were her world, and the thought of forgetting them, of looking into their faces and not knowing their names, that terrified her more than death itself. I asked Dorothy about her habits, and sure enough, she was eating late, very late, sometimes as late as 10 or 11 at night. A bowl of ice cream, some cookies, a glass of milk with crackers. I told her what I am telling you now, that her brain needed fasting time before sleep, that her cleaning crew needed at least 3 to 4 hours without food before bedtime to do its job properly, that those late-night snacks were like throwing more trash on the floor right when the janitors showed up. Dorothy looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "That is all? Just stop eating so late?" That is really what is causing this. It was not the only factor, but it was a major one, and it was something she could change tonight. Let me be very clear about what I am telling you, because I want you to understand exactly how powerful this is. The one habit that accelerates mental decline is eating within 3 to 4 hours of bedtime. That is it. Simple, specific, and completely within your control. When you eat too close to sleep, your body spends the night digesting instead of cleaning. It is like running a car wash while the gas station is refueling. The systems compete with each other, and when they compete, cleaning loses. Your brain produces waste products all day long. Every thought, every memory, every decision creates metabolic debris. This is normal, this is natural, but this debris needs to be cleared out, and the clearing happens during deep sleep, during those precious hours when your body is not busy with anything else. Think of it like the night shift at a factory. During the day, the assembly line runs full speed, producing products but also creating waste, scraps of metal, spilled oil, accumulated dust. At night, the production stops and the maintenance crew comes in. They sweep the floors, oil the machines, clear the ventilation ducts. By morning, the factory is ready for another productive day. But what happens if you keep the assembly line running all night? The maintenance crew never gets access. The waste piles up. The machines start to malfunction. Eventually, the whole factory breaks down. That is your brain on late-night eating. William, 64 years old, just retired from his job as an electrician in Phoenix. His wife practically dragged him into my office. She was frustrated, scared, and desperate. "Doctor," she said, "he leaves the stove on. He forgets to close the garage door. Last week he got lost driving to his brother's house. He has been driving to that house for 30 years. William sat there embarrassed, looking at the floor. "I am fine," he mumbled. "Everyone forgets things." But when I asked about his habits, the pattern emerged again. William had been eating late for years. After retiring, he had started staying up later, watching movies until midnight, snacking the whole time. Popcorn, candy, leftover dinner reheated at 10 o'clock. 3 hours after dinner, he would eat again, then he would go to bed. And his brain's cleaning crew, they could not even start their shift. Think about what happens when you skip taking out the trash for a week. The smell, the overflow, the way it starts affecting everything around it. Now imagine skipping trash collection for a year, for 5 years, for a decade. That is what was happening inside William's head. But here is what gave William hope, and what should give you hope too. When I told him to simply stop eating after 7 in the evening, giving his brain that 3 to 4 hour window before his usual 10 or 11 o'clock bedtime, he was skeptical. "That is it?" he asked. "That is going to help?" I told him about the cleaning crew. I told him about the factory. I told him about Margaret and Robert and Dorothy. I told him that his brain was not broken, it was dirty, and it needed time to clean itself. 3 weeks later, William's wife called me. She was crying, but these were different tears. "Dr. Harrison," she said, "he is better. He is so much better. He remembered our anniversary without me reminding him. He has not left the stove on once. He drove to his brother's house yesterday and knew exactly where he was going." "What did you do?" "I did not do anything. William did. He simply gave his brain what it needed, time to clean itself." Now, I want to address something important. Some of you might be thinking, "But Dr. Harrison, I get hungry at night. I cannot sleep on an empty stomach." I understand, and I am not asking you to go to bed starving. What I am asking you to do is finish your eating earlier. Have a satisfying dinner at 5 or 6 in the evening. Make it filling, make it nourishing, and then close the kitchen. Imagine your kitchen has a closing time, like a restaurant. The grill shuts down, the lights dim, the doors lock. After 7 or 8 o'clock, depending on when you sleep, the kitchen is closed. When you think of it that way, it becomes simpler. You are not depriving yourself. You are just shifting when you eat, not how much. And here is something else to consider. That late-night hunger you feel. It is often habit, not true hunger. Your body has learned to expect food at that time, but habits can be unlearned. After a week or two of keeping the kitchen closed, most of my patients tell me they do not even feel hungry in the evenings anymore. Their bodies have adjusted, and they sleep better because of it. Helen, 71 years old, a former nurse from Boston, understood this immediately. She had spent her career taking care of others. Now it was time to take care of herself. "Doctor," she said, "I have been eating at all hours my whole life. Night shifts taught me to grab food whenever I could, but I am not on night shift anymore. I have been treating my body like I am still working the emergency room." Helen was one of my fastest success stories. She stopped eating after 6 in the evening, giving herself a full 5 hours before her 11 o'clock bedtime. Within 2 weeks, she told me something remarkable. "I feel like someone cleaned my windshield," she said, smiling for the first time since we met. "Everything is clearer. I did not even realize how foggy things had gotten until the fog lifted." That is what happens when you give your brain time to clean itself. The fog lifts, the static clears, the television reception that had been fuzzy suddenly comes in sharp and clear. Let me tell you about one more patient. Thomas, 77 years old, a retired carpenter from Minneapolis. The man had built houses with his own hands for 50 years. Precise measurements, complex calculations, detailed blueprints. His mind was his most valuable tool. But when he came to me, he could barely follow a simple conversation. His daughter sat beside him, answering questions he could not process, filling in blanks he could not remember. After the appointment, she pulled me aside. "Doctor," she whispered, "is there any hope? He is not the same man. I feel like I am losing my father." Her voice broke on that last word, father, because that is what was at stake, not just Thomas's memory, his identity, his role in the family, his ability to be a grandfather, a father, himself. I asked about Thomas's habits, and there it was. Every night, without fail, Thomas ate a bowl of cereal right before bed, had been doing it for 30 years. It is tradition, his daughter said. He has done it my whole life, but that tradition was costing Thomas his memory, his independence, his connection to the family who loved him. I explained the cleaning crew, the factory, the garden, the trash that needed collecting, and I asked them to try something radical. No food for 4 hours before bed, just for 3 weeks, just to see what happened. Thomas's daughter was skeptical. That is it? No medication? No procedures? Just stop eating cereal at night? Just try it, I said. Give his brain a chance to clean itself. 21 days later, Thomas walked back into my office under his own power, without his daughter steadying his arm, with a clarity in his eyes that had not been there before. "Dr. Harrison," he said, and his voice was stronger, "I remembered my grandson's birthday last week. I have not remembered a birthday on my own in 3 years. His daughter was crying. Good tears this time. "What happened?" she asked. "How is this possible?" What happened was simple. Thomas's brain finally got the cleaning it had been begging for. Night after night, for 30 years, the cleaning crew had been turned away. The factory floor had accumulated decades of debris. But when Thomas stopped eating before bed, when he gave his brain that 4-hour window of fasting before sleep, the crew could finally do their job. It did not happen overnight. But it happened. And it can happen for you too. Now, I want to be very clear about something. I am not saying that late-night eating is the only cause of memory problems. I am not saying that stopping this one habit will cure everything. The brain is complex. Many factors contribute to its health. But I am saying, with 31 years of experience behind me, that this one habit matters more than most people realize. It is like a slow leak in a boat. You might not notice the water rising for years, but eventually that leak can sink the whole ship. Think about a slow leak differently. Imagine you have a basement with a small crack in the foundation. Every time it rains, a little water seeps in. Not much, just a trickle. You might not even notice it at first, but over years that water does damage. Mold grows, wood rots, the structure weakens. By the time you notice the problem, significant damage has already been done. That is what late-night eating does to your brain. A little waste left behind each night. Not much, just a trickle. But over years, it accumulates. And by the time you notice the fog, the forgetfulness, the confusion, significant damage has already been done. The beautiful thing is, you can stop the leak. You can start tonight. And your brain, that remarkable, resilient organ, can begin to repair itself. Every night you eat late is another night your brain cannot clean itself. Every night the cleaning crew is turned away is another night the garbage accumulates. And over time, days become weeks, become months, become years. That accumulation creates problems that feel like they came from nowhere, but actually built up slowly, invisibly, one late night snack at a time. But the beautiful thing is this: the same principle works in reverse. Every night you give your brain that fasting window is a night the cleaning crew can do their work. Every night the factory floor gets swept is a night less debris accumulates, and over time that makes a difference. A real, measurable, life-changing difference. Let me tell you about one final patient, Gloria, 81 years old. The oldest patient I have seen recover from this particular issue. She came to me with her son, who was convinced it was too late. "She is 81, he said in the waiting room. "What can really be done at this point?" Gloria heard him. She turned to him and said, in a voice that reminded me why I love working with people her age, "I am 81, not dead. Let the doctor talk." Gloria had been eating ice cream before bed for 60 years, every single night. 1 scoop of vanilla, right before brushing her teeth. It was, as she put it, the one pleasure I never gave up, and I did not ask her to give it up. I asked her to move it. "Have that ice cream at 3 in the afternoon," I suggested. "Make it an afternoon treat instead of a nighttime ritual." Gloria thought about it. Then she nodded. "I can do that. If it means I get to remember my great-grandchildren's faces, I can eat my ice cream in the afternoon." 3 months later, Gloria's son called me. "I was wrong," he said. "She is sharper now than she has been in 5 years. She remembered my birthday last week. She had not remembered my birthday since she turned 75, 81 years old, and her brain was still capable of recovery once we stopped poisoning its nightly cleaning cycle." That is the message I want you to take away from this. It is not too late. Whether you are 60 or 70 or 80 or beyond, your brain still has the capacity to clean itself. You just have to give it the opportunity. Margaret, the librarian who forgot her granddaughter's name. 6 weeks after she stopped her late-night snacking, she called me. "Dr. Harrison," she said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. I remembered every name at Sunday dinner, every single one. My granddaughter asked me to help her with her homework last night, and I remembered things I had not thought about in years. Robert, the firefighter who kept repeating stories. His wife emailed me 2 months later. "He is telling new stories now," she wrote, "and he only tells them once." Dorothy, who was terrified of following her mother's path. She sends me a Christmas card every year. Still sharp, still clear, still herself. Helen, the nurse who had eaten at all hours. She started volunteering at the local library, helping seniors with computers. Her brain needed something to do with all that newfound clarity. William, who got lost driving to his brother's house. He started a woodworking hobby, something he had always wanted to do but never felt he could focus on before. Thomas, the carpenter who could not follow a conversation. He built his grandson a bookshelf for his birthday, by himself, from scratch, with precise measurements and complex calculations just like the old days. Gloria, at 81 years old, she is teaching her great-granddaughter how to knit. She remembers every stitch, she remembers every pattern, and she remembers every moment of it. These are real people with real results, and the only thing they changed was when they ate their last meal of the day. So here is what I want you to do. Tonight and every night from now on, give your brain at least 3 hours without food before you go to sleep. If you go to bed at 10, stop eating at 7. If you go to bed at 11, stop eating at 8. Close the kitchen, lock it up. Tell yourself the grill is shut down for the night. In the beginning, you might feel hungry. That is normal. Your body is used to those late-night snacks. But after a few days, it adjusts. The hunger fades, and what you get in return is worth so much more than a bowl of cereal or a handful of crackers. You get clarity. You get sharpness. You get to keep being yourself for years longer than you might have otherwise. Imagine your grandchildren asking you to tell them stories about the old days, and you remember every detail, every name, every moment, because your brain has been cleaning itself every night, keeping those memories safe, keeping those connections strong. That is what is possible. That is what Margaret and Robert and Dorothy and Helen and William and Thomas and Gloria all discovered, and that is what you can discover too. I have spent 31 years watching what happens when people ignore this simple truth. The fog that settles, the names that fade, the independence that slips away. It breaks my heart every time. But I have also spent 31 years watching what happens when people make this one simple change. The fog that lifts, the names that return, the confidence that grows, and that fills my heart with hope. Because here is what I know, after all these years, after all these patients, after all these stories, your brain is not a lost cause. It is not a ticking time bomb. It is not destined to fail just because you are over 60. Your brain is a remarkable, resilient, self-healing organ. It just needs the right conditions to do its job. And one of the most powerful conditions you can give it is simple. Stop eating so close to bedtime. Give the cleaning crew time to work. Let the factory shut down for maintenance. Allow the garden to clear its debris. Tonight, when the clock strikes 7 or 8, close your kitchen. Tell yourself, the cleaning crew is on their way. And then go to bed, knowing you have done something powerful for your future self. Because 20 years from now, when you are still remembering birthdays and telling new stories and building bookshelves for your grandchildren, you will look back at this moment. The moment you decided to give your brain what it needed. The moment you chose clarity over convenience. The moment you took control of your own future. And you will be so grateful you made that choice. Margaret told me something beautiful the last time we spoke. "Dr. Harrison," she said, "I feel like I got myself back. I did not even realize I had lost myself until I found myself again." That is what is waiting for you. Yourself, your memories, your mind, clean and clear and ready for all the years ahead. All you have to do is close the kitchen a little earlier. If someone you love is struggling with memory, if someone you care about is showing signs of fog and confusion, please share this message with them. Sometimes the most powerful gifts are the simplest ones. A new understanding, a small change, a reason to hope. Because hope is real, change is possible, and your brain, that magnificent, irreplaceable brain, is waiting for you to give it what it needs. Close the kitchen, let the cleaning crew in, and watch what happens next.